Well, we're live.
Hey, everybody. I wasn't checking my phone. I was doing important research about Hump Day Hangouts and this episode 287 that's today. But nope, got caught watching my phone. I was actually looking at Bitcoin prices. So just sharing a little bit behind the scenes there. But we're going to drop all of that and we're going to get focused not on me, but on you guys. We're going to answer your questions, whether it's SEO, digital marketing, whatever it may be. But before we dive into that stuff, want to say hello to everyone and see what's going on. This is a big part of my weekly social stuff now that we're not going out too much. So we'll take a minute here and say hello to everybody. So Bradley, I'll start with you and work my way down. How you doing?
Happy to be here. The weather's nice here finally. It's been cold for like a week. And so I hate being stuck behind my computer, but it's nice that it's nice outside. And by the way, I might not be here next week. I'm going to try to make it, but I'm going out of town for the week to get the hell out of town for all this, craziness in the world. So hopefully I'll have good enough internet access to be here next Wednesday. I'm going to try, but if not, then I'm going to leave it to you guys to pick up the slack.
I don't know. We might have to put a poll on the Facebook group and we'll see what they say if Bradley can have a day off.
Just cancel it all together.
Do you have blood-sucking mosquitoes in Virginia yet?
We have them everywhere. But what I'm worried about now is the murder hornets.
Ah, that's right. Yes, the murder hornets. I forgot.
Because it's like coronavirus isn't enough. Now we got to worry about murder hornets too.
Oh man. So Hernan, how are you doing? How are you doing in the midst of murder hornets and coronavirus?
You said, "What the fuck is that?"
He's not saying anything.
He doesn't even know we're on.
Hernan looks like deer caught in the headlights. There he is.
Sorry. Oh shit. Sorry. You know what? No, I wasn't listening to you guys because I was like my.
Oh, we could tell. We could tell you weren't listening.
Yeah, from the wrong. It was coming from the wrong thing. Anyways, what's up, everybody? Hey, how are you guys? You guys great. It's good to be here.
Hernan is really excited to be here with us today.
I'm really, really excited to be here. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Well, Hernan, I saw you giving out some PSAs in a couple places, and it looks like Facebook has been on kind of a rampage lately. You got any recommendations for people if they have a business manager account?
Yeah, for sure. So it's been, funny enough, Molly Pittman, and she sent an email, and I'm on her list, and she sent an email about what to do in case your Facebook Ads manager or Facebook ad account gets shut down and blah, blah, blah. And, specifically right now where for whatever reason, they're shutting down a bunch of people. So I'm going to paste that in the links because it's pretty cool. But in a nutshell, it's basically what I've been telling people to do, which is appeal. Don't freak out because 99% of the time it's like automated. So yeah, because of this whole situation, Facebook is low on staff. So they need to rely on the machine much more. So that means that most disapprovals are automated. In fact, we had a problem with Semantic Mastery Business Manager last week, but we were able to get it back because we were appealing and it was automated. So just don't freak out. I'm going to paste that in the and somewhere around in the links, and we'll go from there.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, Marco, how you doing, man? Little sunshine.
Just saying, right? It's the middle of the rainy season, guys, in Costa Rica. This is what I get. So, hey, what can I say? Need I say more?
Fair enough. I got nothing. It's actually cold here. It's normally nice and sunny here in the Bay Area, but a little cool. I'll take it though. It's kind of makes me appreciate the warmer weather. So, Chris, last but not least, man, how you doing?
Doing excellent here. And we finally got rain, and I'm happy about it. Like the rain goes for
what for? Just because you guys needed some water or what?
Yeah, like it's I don't know, like it's been super dry this year, so it was necessary.
Gotcha. Well, I've got a question for everyone watching. If you can put in a comment, I'm curious, how things are going for you with being, hopefully, but I'll avoid the political ramifications. Hopefully you're staying inside more. But what are you doing with your extra time? Are you working more? Are you reading some books? Are you banging your head against a wall and ready to lose it? Let us know. I'm kind of curious, an informal poll, if you will. Before we get into the questions too, just wanted to say, obviously, if you've been watching us for more than a week, you know that the Battleplan 4 just came out. Thanks to everyone who went and grabbed that, battleplan.semanticmastery.com. If you were in on the launch or the pre-launch, you got a great deal on that. And we've kept it priced inexpensively, but launch is over. Of course, you can still go to battleplan.semanticmastery and get that. As well, if you're an agency owner or a consultant or somebody who just wants to get more clients, you want to grow your revenue, you want to learn how to scale a team so that you can work less and earn more, you should really go check out 2X Your Agency. That's really oriented more towards people who are looking to take on more than 1 or 2 clients and how to do that. And the battle plan, again, is more step-by-step processes for doing things with getting results, like with SEO and organic traffic. And 2X Your Agency is more focused on the agency side of that. So they do go well together. But if you're looking for one or the other, hopefully that's enough information to get you started. We're also going to be having some information coming out about POFU Live. I'm pumped about that. POFU Live will be happening in 2020. We're going to be having some more details about that in June. We've got, I believe, 7 or 8 people who have already picked up tickets to that. We're going to be reaching out to you guys privately and letting you in on some of the good stuff that's going on there, and everyone else will have more details coming. And last but certainly not least, as always, we tell everyone to go over to mgyb.co. Go to MGYB, whether it's press releases, link building, syndication networks, SEO Shield, anything you need done for you, head over there, check it out. We've got several hundred customers, and it's growing every day. And all I can say is, go over there and check it out. There's a lot of really good stuff. I'm not going to hard sell you or try to make you use it. But we do tell people to, kind of like in 2X Your Agency, Bradley, I think you really talk on this, and I know it's part of the mastermind, what we tell people. But as you get clients or if your projects start generating revenue, is to start reinvesting that so that you can grow, so you're not implementing it all yourself. And MGYB is a great place to do that. So go check it out.
All right.
With that said, you guys, anything else we want to touch on before we go into the questions?
Yeah, I do. Just really quickly, the high level webinar for Go High Level, that's coming up on, 2 weeks from yesterday. We're doing, so May 26th, I believe it is. We're going to do an encore webinar. We did one on Monday of this week with Bruno and Brian with a fantastic agency platform for it's got all kinds of integrated tools. It's really, really, really sharp tool, guys, for running your own agency as well as for marketing for clients, like doing the marketing and managing the marketing for clients. Very powerful platform. I'm super excited about it. We didn't sell anything on Monday, so it was just really kind of like a high level view of the high level platform. And we're going to do an encore follow-up on the 26th, where there will be an opportunity to purchase it there with some really cool bonuses that go hand in hand with 2X Your Agency training. So we have a sign-up link for that, and I just asked Adam to stick the replay from Monday on the opt-in page for the sign-up, the registration page, excuse me, for the webinar on May 26th. So I would encourage you guys to go check it out. You can watch that first webinar if you'd like. It was just over an hour. It'll give you an idea of what it is what the platform does and everything else. But then we're going to kind of, we'll recap that, go over it again on the 26th, as well as present the offer to you guys. Like I said, I'm super excited about it. I'm actually really looking forward to integrating it into my own business. And I'm hoping to, I don't know that it'll be done, but I'm hoping to have somewhat of a case study available for right after the webinar on the 26th, because I got a new tree service lead generation client that I'm building out a project for in the mastermind. And I want to, use that as kind of like the first guinea pig for this high level platform on how to use that marketing platform for client work. Like, in other words, managing client marketing through the platform. So hopefully I'll have that done. If I don't have it done by right after the webinar, it will be within a week or so. I'll have it available, and I'll, we'll send out an email or something like that where I'll share a video showing how I'm using it. So anyways, I just wanted to give that out because I think it's a very, very powerful platform that a lot of you could benefit from. Somebody else? Marco, did you have something?
Did you have something?
No, I said, let's do this.
Oh,
awesome. Well, let's do this.
By the way, I don't know if you posted the sign up link, Adam, but I just posted that in Slack again, the one that I created to redirect. So anyways, cool. Let me grab the screen. So we're good to get into questions now, guys?
Yeah, let me just tell everyone who's listening what I'm going to paste the link what Bradley was talking about for the upcoming high level or Go High Level webinar. So you can go get signed up, and that's in almost 2 weeks. So go ahead and head over there, get signed up and registered for that. And you'll be able to check out the replay for the previous webinar that we had earlier this week.
Sweet. Thanks, man. All right, I'm going to grab the screen. We're going to get into it.
Yeah.
You guys are seeing my screen correct?
Correct.
All right. So her non-posted, it looks like a question that was in the Facebook group. It looks like there was supposed to be an image here, and there was not. So I pulled the question up over here. This was it, correct?
You're the man. That's why you're in charge of this.
That's it, man. Right. That's why I have to be here next Wednesday, or this shit will fall apart.
Yes.
I'm kidding. All right. So Raja says, I just bought Battleplan 4.0. I've read through it and created a list of services you recommended as part of your done for you services. See pick, which that's a great image. I even told Rob to steal it or do something similar because I thought it was nice that somebody did that. We should have done that long ago. He says, I need to know which of these are ones you suggest are one-time and monthly recurring tests. So essentially he's asking which are one-time purchases for a project and what should be recurring or ongoing services. So anyways, let's just click it through to the image and you can see some of these. And keyword analysis, guys, that's, you know, per project. Or if you were to add, like, for example, different products or services to an existing project, then you might need to order another keyword research project. But typically I recommend going with the deep keyword research for whatever project it is that you're setting up, because right off the bat, you're going to get all the market level keywords that you can think of, including suggested silos, different keywords with different search intent. So whether they're commercial intent, informational intent, you know, all different types of, I mean, it's just incredible how big the keyword files are that the deep keyword research does. So in my opinion, you're better off buying that one time, and then you've pretty much got the entire project covered for, you know, months or years to come. Anybody want to comment on that? Marco, you might want to jump in on these occasionally.
All right, you're gonna go through these one by one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well,
so go through them first is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'd say go through them. I mean, which ones do you need to like one time and which ones should be ongoing?
Okay. So the SEO shield, it depends on what the overall project is. If you're doing, remember the first shield, we always recommend the SEO power shield because that's really creating that brand association with, or brand to keyword association. So that's what we would recommend. However, like for example, if you're doing local, okay, that's what I do, and you have a project that's going to have multiple locations, so different storefronts or different service areas and that kind of stuff, you can always do location shield add-ons to an existing power shield. So that's something that, again, it's really one time depending on the project. So a lot of these are going to, it's, you know, standard SEO answer is it depends, right? So it really depends on the project, but for the most part, for most projects, you're typically just going to need one SEO shield, which we recommend the power shield, because that's basically all of our components combined. Okay. Syndication networks. Again, if you buy the SEO shield, the power shield, it already comes with the syndication network. If, so you typically only need one syndication network for whatever brand, unless once again, you've got multiple locations and you want location specific syndication networks, which I only recommend if you need them, right? We've talked about this many, many, many times over the years. I always try to get away with one branded syndication network for any project that any local project that I'm doing, even if it has multiple locations, because you can syndicate from each individual location, or you can syndicate from the root domain and have categories or silos set up within the blog itself from the root domain that are basically siloed for the separate locations. So you can kind of kill all birds with one stone with one branded network. However, if there are certain times where particular locations aren't receiving the SEO push that you wanted, like you're not getting the desired results, then it does make sense at that point to get a location specific syndication network that's optimized specifically for that particular location. Then you could always blog specifically from that location into that network. So once again, it depends, but syndication networks, typically it's going to be one branded network for a blog syndication project. But for YouTube syndication, you can pile as many damn networks onto a YouTube channel as you'd like, whether they're single tier or two-tier networks, doesn't matter. You can keep adding to them if you'd like. So if you're doing a ton of video SEO stuff, I would recommend, you know, adding more networks over time. RYSR drive stack with Gsite. Again, it's part of the SEO Shield packages. So I would recommend that you just buy the SEO Shield, but if you needed a separate drive stack for whatever reason, and sometimes you may need that because you've already got certain things built out, that would be essentially a one-time purchase unless you needed to expand for some reason or another. PR silo stacking. Now that's something that you want to do on a recurring basis. I always recommend for low competition, a minimum. I mean, the lowest competition, like some of my grandfathered clients from 2012 that are paying me peanuts, but are very low maintenance clients. They only get one press release per month, but they do get one at the very minimum, one press release per month. I recommend typically one every 2 weeks, or for more competitive niches or for more clients with a more aggressive budget, I do at least one. I try to do one per week for clients. So again, that's recurring. I recommend that. A one and done press release isn't going to do much for anybody. Okay. PR silo stacking advantage. Well, that's the same thing. Entity loop ID page, again, part of the SEO Shield. If you're going to add a different additional locations, you can always have different ID pages for different locations, or for different entities, for example. If you, but for one entity, you should only have one ID page. You can have one for different locations, but once again, that's part of the location shield. So if you have an overall brand and you're going to be adding locations over time, then I would recommend that you buy the location shield add-ons as opposed to just the individual ID page add-ons. Citations, again, that's recurring. That's something that you should be doing on a regular basis for bona fide or legit, genuine businesses, right? That, with NAP, name, address, phone number, that kind of stuff. Citations are something you should be doing regularly. If they're spammed listings for lead generation, don't do citations. I've talked about that many, many times. Link building, ongoing, constantly. That's how you power up your syndication networks, your SEO Shield and all the components of it, your drive stacks, your Gsites, your ID pages, your brand tier one entity, like branded profile links from social media, as well as citations. You can power up press releases, blog posts that have been syndicated to the syndication network. There's a ton of things that you can do with link building and embeds, basically the same. You want to get on a recurring schedule, and that's how you keep pushing additional power into the assets that you've set up, or that you've, your project's assets. And other than that, I think we're good. That looks like all of them. Anybody want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, other than the SEO Shield should be one time, unless you're going to, as you said, bolt on, and it doesn't have to be just for local. And if you have categories and you're siloing and you're going to theme mirror your silos on you, but then you need an add-on to your existing drive stack, the branded drive stack, which we're soon going to make that available. We're already testing it out. People in our mastermind get first crack. Our paying members and members of the Heavy Hitter Club, paying members, also have access to that. And so we're trying that out, see how it works. And right now, it's the software is working really well. So we're gonna soon have that available. The other stuff, the SEO Shield covers it, right? Syndication network, your drive stack, Gsite, and your ad ID. Now, as you said, you can get multiple ad IDs or ad ID pages, but the problem is that you don't want to ambiguate your entity in any way. You have to make sure that if you're creating multiple ad IDs, that you associate these add-on ad IDs to the main entity. You don't want to create separate entities, or else you're going to be competing against yourself. And you're going to end up with filters, especially in local. You're going to end up with map filters. So you have to be really careful how you approach this. It's one of the things that we're going to get into in the Heavy Hitter Club, how to associate your structured data correctly so that you don't confuse the bot. Other than that, what I see as far as citations, link building, and the embeds, which he divided them, and I don't know why, because he can just cycle through these, right?
Yeah.
Apps, videos, or he can include all four of these in one order. Mm-hmm. Like they don't have to be separate. But the next cycle, if you've done all four of them already, they should be other embeds, not the same one. Other targets. Think of other link building targets. You can link build to your citations. You can link build to your entity loop. You can link build to your PR silo, to your drive stack and Gsite, to your tier one branded. So you have cycles that you run this through, and once you have your calendar set up, all you have to do is come back in order. We are trying a subscription, link building and embed subscription. We are going to have that. We're testing it in the development server right now. As we speak, it was just turned over to Rob to try to break it. Rob is in charge of trying to break all of our software because he seems to be really good at it. And then we go back and we fix it. So that's all coming, guys. So you won't even have to think about any of these. You're just gonna set the calendar, your link building calendar, and your subscription will take care of everything. We're trying to make it as hands-off as possible. What we would want, right? What we as business owners and people who do client work, what we would want, or our own projects, which we also do, our own money-making projects. We're trying to see how we can transfer what we do to something where you can just come in, order, and be done. Because what we always tell you is your time is worth way more than what you're spending doing all of this yourself. You should be off trying to make more money, pulling in more clients, talking to people, developing your business and scaling your business instead of worrying about all of these things that you should be able to just assign to someone to go and do for you.
Yeah, and because of that, because you just mentioned that, there's a great comment here from stand by. I want to find it because let me see if I can find. Oh yeah, it was under here. All right, this was great. Patrick Smith actually. Oh, and by the way, so yes, Raja, the embeds should also be blue because you color coded it with green as one time and blue as recurring. I would suggest embeds as part of recurring. So link building and embeds, and they go hand in hand. And you could cycle between link building 1 month and embeds another month, and then embeds with links built to the embeds another month. Like, so for example, like I like to mix it up so that you're constantly just pushing power to all the different entity assets in different ways. Okay. But Patrick had a really good comment here to somebody that was asking. He says, imagine being a contractor needing to build a house for a client. You can learn every trade, the foundation, framing, plumbing, electrical, drywall, finishing, etc. yourself, or you could use qualified subcontractors. Semantic mastery methods aren't cheap, but then again, you wouldn't hire an unqualified subcontractor to build a house for that you want to last for generations. For simple local sites and non-competitive niches, you don't need complicated SEO shield or stuff like that. Although I would always recommend doing it anyways. That way you solidify whatever rankings you get. And it's almost like, you know, you become bulletproof at that point. So in my opinion, I would always recommend that regardless of the competition level.
Yep.
He says it's a small, but for medium competitive niches and assets you want to be around for a long term, why not build from the ground up properly? It's a small investment for something that will be around for decades. Websites aren't going anywhere anytime soon, and SEO is still the best investment you can make online, in my opinion. You can build this stuff yourself, but it'll cost you time. It'll cost you to learn, and then you'll have to invest your time in actually building it. Personally, I value my time higher than that. I won't mess with the drywall when I'm focused on building houses. And I thought that was a really good analogy because, again, you know, you can focus on learning how to build these things and then actually executing that, right? Fulfilling the build, which is like being the drywall contractor. Or you can outsource that, right? Hand it off to a trusted fulfillment provider, MGYB, and then work on growing your business so that, in other words, you would be the home builder at that point. Does that make sense? So you're either the drywall contractor or the home builder. Which do you prefer to be? Personally, I prefer to be the home builder. So I thought that was a great analogy.
And I love when I see that word investment. When I see the members or the followers of Semantic Mastery using what they spend on their businesses, seeing it as an investment, and you know that the mindset is right because you're not spending. You're not just spending money. You can expect something. If it's an investment, then that means there's ROI expected. So it's totally the mindset is right. So you're out to make money, and the way that you can make more money is by putting money into it, rather than just looking at how to take out money, or not investing anything in the first place other than sweat equity.
Yeah. All right. So Ken, I guess it's Ken, says, are Drive Stacks and Gsites dead since Google went and took away the public version of Drive? Marco, that is definitely one for you.
Yeah, and that name is just funny. Can it cut? I don't know if it can or not, but our stuff isn't dead. I don't care what Google did. Like Rob and I, as soon as we saw this, we immediately he went into his own testing. I went into mine. Then we got together after that, and then we came up with the things that we found. And we already have not one solution, not two, but several solutions to what is no longer a problem, since there's already a solution. So no, far from being dead. Now, Google did get sneaky, and they made it a little bit more difficult, but we're doing the first Heavy Hitter Club members only webinar. It isn't going to be actually members only. So on Monday, the 18th at 3:30 Eastern is when we're having our first one, and we're making it public. We're making it public. We want people to have this information about drive stacks, because we don't want just people charging for something that's just readily available, and you can just figure out by going in there, playing around. I understand that you have to know the environment side. So if you've never been in there, it's kind of difficult to figure out what's going on and why. But as soon as you figure it out and you see where the mouse traps are that Google has set, there shouldn't be any problem. So what we're going to do on Monday is just whoever attends is going to get this first, and then you're going to have a leg up on everybody else. So anybody who wants to attend, all you have to do is go to either our free SEO group or any of the paid groups for that matter, because we posted an event in each of them, or the Heavy Hitter Club. If you're a paid member, you go in there. If you're a free member, you go in there in the events tab, and you can see the webinar information. And as a bonus, as if that weren't enough, giving you what's going on with Drive right now, we're gonna have Jeffrey Smith coming in and talking about entities, since it is the very first entity webinar. So how cool is that? All for free. So first shot, guys, it's all free. Come on in. However, anything after that, you gotta get in where you fit in, and
You sound like
it's paid for.
You sound like a drug pusher from a bad after school special. Like the first one is free, but next time you
got that right.
Pay.
You got that right. The second time, you got to get in where you fit in, man.
Here's a little taste, right? All right. So the next question: competitors targeting my Google site links and brand. I don't know how, but my six-pack and site links are now down to 3. What can I do to get Google to regain my 6 site links back? It's a good question. I'm not real sure how to answer that, only because I haven't messed with asking, like trying to force Google to make site links appear. I know it used to be able to do that in Search Console in Classic, but I don't think I've seen that in the new, or I've not attempted it in the new Search Console, although I know they do have legacy tools available. Marco, do you know how to answer that one?
No, I have no idea, because I don't know what Google, I mean, I do know what Google does with site links. It's saying that it only shows them when they're useful to the user. And that's from, I read it in Webmaster somewhere, I think it was. I usually can't remember where I read shit. I just remember what I read. And they did say in that post that it's automated. So yeah. I'm not sure how we can get that back. They say how they're working to improve the site links algorithms and all these things. So I'm just not sure, other than, what did you change anything so that your site links are no longer appearing? Because I know that they were appearing for Semantic Mastery, then they went away, then they came back.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what Google is doing right now with the site links that this particular person is talking about.
Yeah, and like what I was saying was, and I remember in the old interface for Search Console, there was a place that you could ask, essentially you could request site links and you could put in suggested site links. But Google even stated at that point that, it didn't mean that they were going to display them. But I do know what Marco's talking about. For example, in the mastermind I was sharing with, I had put FAQ schema on for my real estate business. I put FAQ schema in on my landing page because I have some, frequently asked questions. And then it was interesting, but and I don't think it's showing now, it only showed for about a day, but when you did a brand search for Alpha Land Realty, the press advantage page came up, the organization page, and actually it was from an individual press release that had, the landing page embedded at the bottom of the press release, and Google pulled the FAQ schema in from the press release, and it actually showed the question and answer box with like the accordion boxes with the questions, and you click it, and it would expand and show the answers right in the search results for Alpha Land Realty. And the FAQ box was actually, so that was a featured snippet basically with the FAQs in it, were actually part of the meta description of the press release URL for my brand search. It was really interesting, and it took up a huge amount of real estate on the page. but it only lasted a day. And so I know what Marco's saying is true. There's a lot of stuff Google's playing around with displaying stuff sometimes and not other times. And I think that's pretty average. It seems like it occurs more often now than it used to, where they're constantly tweaking the SERPs. And I think they do that just to determine what gets the best response from users. Am I right in that assumption?
I mean, I would say so. We don't know Google, and especially when it comes to the AI. This is AI, and you saw the same thing that I did for the Land Solutions Network case study, which was the FAQ coming through a press release, right, or the media page in Press Advantage, and being displayed in search results for the brand. Now it did go away, but
Yeah.
so what this is telling you, it's the AI going in and seeing that it just didn't fit. It shouldn't be there. Oh, there it is.
And there it came in this Google site this time. Look at that. That's the Google site this time. And there's the FAQ box. That's exactly what I was talking about. So I'm glad it's appearing right now. So yeah, you know, that's really interesting because that is an inner page on the Google site. And it's because of and that's going to break my browser because of all the embeds. But that's the schema on the actual landing page, which is embedded in the Google site page, right? The Gsites page from the Drive Stack, and boom, there's the FAQ box. Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
So that's exactly what we were just talking about. I don't know that you can do anything to influence that is what I'm saying. The next question is, sometimes I would regain, I guess it's a follow-up comment really. Sometimes I would regain it and it would come back to 5 or 6, but when they are hit again, and I don't know what you mean. How do you know you're getting hit? Are you just monitoring, like, is it spam links? Are they negative SEOing you through spam links and over optimized anchor text links and that kind of stuff? I'm just curious. He says that whenever they're hit. So I just wonder, like, how do you know you're being hit? I'm just curious. The links disappear and I notice rankings drop. Please advise, as the competitor has been doing this for several years. I bought the Shield and plan on buying done for you services, but just want to make sure I get them in the right order and the correct ones. Thanks in advance. Yeah, one of the best things Marco always talks about, the best thing to fight against negative SEO or for competitors doing that kind of shit is to just build a super strong entity. And there's nothing better that we know of than having the SEO Shield and really building out the entity, right? Entity-based SEO, that's what we've been teaching. So you're on the right track. Marco, do you have any follow-up?
No, because that's exactly what I was going to recommend. If the competitor is coming after you and you know that they're engaged in negative SEO and they're hitting you, then build that keyword and that brand plus keyword relationship, or brand plus location plus keyword relationship, whether you're local or anything else. And the best way to do that is through your structured data. Make sure it's in JSON+LD and make sure that it's better than any of your competitors. That you give the bot as much information as possible. Make sure this is going to be part of when we go into the not only the entity but the structured data part of the heavy hitter webinar series. Is we're going to teach you how to create these relationships between your pages and your organization, the parent organization. If you have franchises, if you have locations, if you have different locations, there's a whole bunch of ways where you can reference. We're going to call it a parent-child relationship, but where the parent references the child references the parent, so that there is no ambiguity as to what each one is.
Yeah, and so just to point out, like, you know, the structured data is so important. And so this is for that same page where, you know, I was just talking about the Alpha Land Realty guys. You want to put your entity assets for sure, and same as if it's local business, you'll use local business schema. If it's not a local business, or it even can be a local business, you can use organization or corporation schema, depending on, you know, the way, like I usually use organization or corporation schema for multi-location businesses. Anyways, the point is it's super, super important, because that's what you're feeding the bot with, that structured data. And that's how you get that kind of, remember this structured data is not only on my landing page, right? It's also duplicated in the ID page. It's embedded in, it's also in the Press Advantage organization page. But then whenever we embed those pages into the G-Site now has structured data inherently within the page. And so it's a way to just constantly reinforce that brand, that entity. And that's what causes that kind of stuff. So it's super, super powerful to do that. And that's also, by the way, that's the FAQ schema right there, which, you know, you can generate that kind of schema. And I don't know, that wasn't your question. I understand that. But adding schema, don't like spam schema, but if you can add structured data to elements of the page, do it, because that's working incredibly well right now. It's the semantic web, you know.
FAQ, video, author,
Yep.
employee, owner, founder,
Product reviews.
as much information as you can about each, and not only general, but each page should have individual page schema, and even your posts should have different schema. I mean, you can get that technical with it,
Yeah.
so that there's absolutely no doubt. Because here's the problem, and I keep telling people that you're going to keep running into this problem more and more as we go deeper into the semantic web. When you look at your content, your unstructured data, right? Whatever it is that you're writing through Google's natural language processor, the problem is that Google is fucking up your entity, or that you're not doing a good enough job with the unstructured data, with what you're writing, so that you're telling Google exactly what your content is about. Run it through a natural language processor and look at what Google is seeing as your entities versus what you think Google is seeing. Like, well, one of the things that I'm getting paid the most money for is to go and help people to look at their content, at whatever it is that they're writing, and making sure that they're creating the right association. Because you can do, I mean, if you see what the bot is doing, people talk about artificial intelligence and Google's natural language processor as this almighty thing who knows all and understands all and sees all, and it's not. And if you're getting screwed up at the unstructured level, and you don't have the structured data to direct the bot, then you're in absolute trouble. I mean, there's just no way that you can work around it unless you're still brute forcing shit. And I don't see how much longer you can just keep brute forcing without the structured and unstructured data being right on the page. It has to be right, it has to be tight, it has to be exactly about whatever it is that you're doing. No matter what it is, you have to tell the bot exactly what it is, so that the bot doesn't come to your unstructured data and start guessing whatever your project is about.
Yeah, and I brought this up just because, guys, you can go to Google and search technical SEO schema markup generator. It comes right up. Just schema markup generator. It'll come right up to the top of Google search. Anyways, these are all the different. This is the tool that I use to generate schema. You know, I'm sure there's others. This is just the one that I use, because it's got pretty much most all of the ones that I'm going to use anyways. Right here, you could just pick, for example, article. There's 3 different article types. There's an article, there's a news article, and there's blog posting. So again, that, you know, if you have your own, we won't do this inside MGYB, but if you have your own Press Advantage subscription, for example, you can go and log into your own dashboard, and you can actually add news article schema to each individual press release, right? Which is super fucking powerful. And same thing with art. You can do an article or blog posting and add that schema, that structured data for article or blog posting in the header part of your post on your blog. So for example, you use a plugin like SEO, I know, and they have a schema generator inside the SEO Ultimate Pro plugin. I still tend to use this tool just because I got efficient with this tool, but you can, and you don't have to use the SEO Ultimate Pro plugin. You could use just like a header and footer plugin, or any sort of plugin that allows you to inject code into the header or the footer, and that, you know, that kind of stuff on a page by page basis. And you can actually create individual blog post schema or article schema for each individual post. Same thing like Marco said, everything you can add structured data to for the elements on the page, like for example, video, recipe, product, person, you know, all of these are available in here. So FAQ page, right? So it's very, very powerful stuff that you can do with structured data, because that speaks directly to the bots, right? That's what the semantic web is about. So anyways, this is a great question. We're going to move on to the next one. Okay, Mike says, hi, beautiful people. I don't know about that, but he says, I want to ask about using keywords in H2 title tags on the home page. I have 6 keywords. Is it okay to create a homepage using exact match keywords for the H2 titles? Keywords equal services or service types. Thanks. You know, I don't know. That's a good question. Typically I don't put that many H2, you know, like usually it's a hierarchy of headings. So if it's long form content, then H2 might be like the next big section of content on a long form article or on a long form page, in other words. and in any sort of like subcategories or reinforcing points within the overall broader topic or point that you're trying to make, then those would be H3s, right? And so I usually don't use more than one H2 on a page at any time. I don't really know what you're trying to accomplish there, because if you're just trying to link over for navigation purposes, I mean, I understand you're trying to SEO it too, but I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish with using H2 tags. Is it that you think H2 tags are more powerful than something else? So I'm just kind of curious as to what you're trying to accomplish with there. Does anybody have an idea what you might be trying to do?
I'm not sure what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like H2 title tags, he has six keywords in a list. If they're all services, I mean, here's my thing. Look at what your competition is doing. And this is where you can use any tool, correct? Any tool that analyzes this, and you'll get an average of whatever it is that they're doing. So just go and do what the top are doing, rather than focus on, oh, well, what can you do? You can do a lot of things. Whether you're supposed to do it, well, that's another thing. How are your competitors doing it on their pages? And as a matter of fact, on keyword density, I would even go as far as to say that's what your competitors' average is more important than any hard set number. But then that's because people are changing, since it's AI, and people are changing what the average is. Then now you go for that for the industry or niche average, rather than some hard set number that does not apply across every niche. So it's something that I've been taking a really good look at. And you can get away with multiple H1s now. It used to be that only one was recommended. But if the competition is doing multiple H1s, then you can get away with multiple H1s. Same thing with multiple H2s. It used to be only one H2 and then the rest were H3.
Right.
But if the competition is getting away with it, then that means you need to go and look at what you can do to match your competitors.
So in one case where multiple H1s is okay, is like on a blog index page, right? Where it's or a category index page, any sort of archives page like that, where it's listing multiple posts, for example. Each one of the post titles are going to have H1 tags. That's okay, because that's it's an index page, like a blog roll, essentially. Here's an example where multiple H2s would be okay. So for example, I'm going to use tree service example, but like arborist services, right? So typically I always set up, if it's an actual certified arborist for a tree service company that has a certified arborist on staff or is the owner, then I will have 3 silos on a tree service site. There will be tree trimming, one silo, tree removal, a next silo, and an arborist services, which includes multiple different types of services like cabling and bracing, tree inspections, disease control, things like those are all different. So in that case, on the arborist services page, because each one of those arborist services are unique services in their own right, but they're only services that an arborist could potentially, they're services that only an arborist should provide or perform, then each one of those kind of services could have their own H2 tags, because they're unique enough that it makes sense to have H2s. Does that make sense? But again, you got to think about, it's kind of like how you structure a silo with your top level keyword and then your supporting keywords, which are longer tailed. That's how I always looked at H tags on a page. It's a way to create a hierarchy within the theme, the content theme of the page. Does that make sense? So you want to stack things accordingly. So that's just an example of what I'm saying, how I would stack it. So, I mean, there are times when multiple H2s would be okay, but that's where I think it would be okay. So if you were to have 6 different services that you had a lot of content on the homepage and you wanted to do it by H2s, I don't see why that would cause any problem. But I like what Marco says, see what others in your industry, right, in the same niche are doing and mimic that to a degree. You know what I mean? So anyways, that was a good question as well. Other question, if possible, must the H1 title have a paragraph? Is it okay to have an H1 page title and beneath it an H2 title with a paragraph? Again, I don't know why you would do that, because the title of the blog post or the page is going to I think almost all WordPress themes by default, they're H1s, but I don't know why you would immediately underneath the page title have another H2 tag. I don't really understand why you wouldn't just accomplish what the H2 title would do in the actual title of the post or the page. Does that make sense? Because remember, like my blogger, for example, you know, she blogs, she puts a blog post title, which is an H1 tag that is, it basically describes what the post is about. And it's more conversational. It's more like a normal blog post title, but the SEO title, that's different, right? That's the meta title. The SEO title, we usually target just one primary keyword. Then we put a pipe symbol or a dash sign or whatever to separate the keyword, the primary keyword, and then we put the brand name. So we're always associating in the SEO title, the primary keyword that the post or the page is optimized for, along with the brand name. But the actual page title, the H1 or the post title, H1, is going to be more conversational, more to describe what the page or the post is about, not necessarily just a keyword. There's usually a keyword worked into it, but it doesn't even have to be exact match because the exact match is in the SEO title. Does that make sense? So
yeah, there's a small problem there, right? Because on many templates, the SEO title defaults to H1.
Not sure what you mean there.
The SEO title becomes the H1 in a lot of WordPress templates.
Okay, so what happens to the actual page title then?
No, the SEO title will be the SEO title, but that'll be taken and that'll be applied as the H1, or H1 will be applied as the SEO title.
Okay, but I'm saying if you look at the source code, the SEO title is different than the H1 title, right? That's what I'm saying.
If you said it that way, but you have to be careful that it's not defaulting.
Okay.
That's all.
But apparently the theme that I use doesn't, because what I'm saying is if you look at the source code, it shows the SEO title, then it has the H1 title or H1 tag, which is different than the SEO title. So yeah, that's good advice then. If
does that,
if certain themes do that, then you have to be aware of that. So that's good advice. Thank you. I use ink themes for most of my lead gen sites because I just got really familiar with that developer, and they don't do that. So I don't have to worry about that. Okay. Anyways, we're going to keep moving. Paul says, hello all, I just signed up for a deep, this was answered in the Facebook group, wasn't it? I could have sworn I saw somebody answering about.
Well, they're asked to post here or in the Facebook group or both, which is fine. I just wanted this here so that I could answer it live and just let people know that we don't need a target location that's been removed from the order form, because I mean, you should be responsible for your target location, whether it's near me or whatever location it is that you want to set it for. Because what happens is when we need the broad. For example, if you're selling red widgets in Los Angeles, California, we don't need in Los Angeles, California. We just need to know red widgets. You're responsible for understanding Los Angeles for applying Los Angeles red widgets, Los Angeles. Because what happens is when we go and try to research for red widgets in Los Angeles, California, or sell red widgets in Los Angeles, California, I mean, that narrows it down to such a point where we can't do the proper keyword research. It's not really going to be worth the time, the effort, or the money that you're paying us to get you the keyword research back, because really what you want is that relevance, the keyword relevance. What you want is those thousands upon thousands of keywords that we bring you back so that they go into that Drive Stack and Gsites, into that branded stack, so that you're creating all of that keyword relevance and associating everything to your brand. So what I've instructed the keyword research VAs to do is to go to the broad, and if there's any question, to always go back to the client or to come to me, so that we can go to the broadest term possible and work from there, so that we can work the silos properly and then categorize everything properly. If we go too narrow, then what we're actually doing is we're reducing the number of keywords that we can get you back for you to target. The questions, the near me, everything just goes too narrow. So we need, again, the broadest possible. We've eliminated location that's no longer available. We don't really need to know your location. That's just a formula in Excel. So you can attach the location wherever you want in the keyword research. And I mean, that's available in Microsoft, how to create Excel formulas.
Okay, BB's up, and BB, this is it's disguised as only 4 questions, but there's got to be at least 8 or 10 questions in here. We keep asking you to post one at a time, and you keep posting multiple questions, and in each question there's multiple questions. So we're going to answer one and we're going to keep moving because we only got a few minutes left anyway. So if we have time, we'll come back. He says, hola amigos, for money site you recommend 2 sites maximum as for money site you recommended 2 sites maximum as 301 expired domain redirects. What about the branded properties? Do they have any limit for 301 expired domains? I don't know. I don't even do that anymore. It's been years since I've done that. Because we just don't need to anymore. So you know, every time there's a redirect, you're going to lose a little bit, right? You lose a little bit of page rank essentially through each redirect. So, and I think we had estimated it before at like 15% or something, but we don't know, right? It's just a guess, an educated guess, I suppose, but just a guess nonetheless. So you don't want to continue. Now, we used to do double redirects, and that would basically clean just about any bad juju from like even really spam domains. But that was a long time ago when we were doing what was known as domain authority stacking, which used to work incredibly well. But I stopped doing that years ago. So I really can't answer that anymore. I wouldn't do any more than a double redirect. And in fact, I wouldn't even bother doing that anymore. So you have an answer for that? You want to comment on that, Marco?
No, I don't, because we stopped using those expired domains and all of that when we started focusing on just building our brand.
Yeah.
And what we can control the most, which is tier 1 branded, Gsites, Gsites, and working from there, pushing that all of that to the money site. It just works better for us. I'm not saying it doesn't work for anybody else. What they do, they can do how they do. What we do works for us, and that's how we do it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'm not saying that you can't do that and get it to work. There's no doubt that you can buy like domains that had a bunch of, that has high metrics, had a lot of relevant backlinks pointed to it, same topic. Relevancy is more important in my opinion than just metrics, unless it's a super high, a site a domain, that has super high metrics, in which case relevancy is less important. But even then, like I said, I don't. You can still accomplish stuff with that, but we got away from doing that a long time ago. And personally, it's because I got tired of searching for domains, and having to scrape domains all the time and buy them from auction, or try to find drop domains that made it through auction, that didn't get bought through auction or whatever, that I could still do double redirects and squeeze power out of. Like Chinese domains used to be great for that, because for whatever reason, you could buy old, closeout domains that had like thousands sometimes of subdomains, and they were drop domains. So you could actually go in and point them to a server and then set up a wildcard subdomain redirect in htaccess that would point all of the existing or the old subdomain, the links built to the old subdomains, all to one location, the root, which then you could point to anywhere you wanted. And that kind of stuff worked incredibly well. We did a lot of testing with that, but again, we got away from doing that when we built the whole SEO shield method basically. And then we've got a Dedia now that just spams the shit out of everything that we build, and it just pushes all the power that way. So it's not really necessary. So anyways, I wouldn't do more than 2 redirects, but honestly, it's been so many years since I've done any testing with that. I couldn't tell to be real clear, I don't know if that's the proper way to do it anymore or not. So he does have a question about the charity webinars. Margo, did you read that? Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. I'd like to answer that. We didn't remove it. If it's missing, then we'll add it back. I'll talk to Rob and see why it's missing. I don't know. We didn't remove anything.
Okay. Fitz is up. What's up, Fitz? He says, good day, gents. I hope all is well with you and your families. How does a new change with Google Drive affect RYS? We kind of answered that before, but Marco, you can touch on that again.
It doesn't.
Okay. Very good. Also, if I may, my client does not want me and their website to improve on page. Would it be a good idea to do a site I own and send the leads to their landing page, or only sell them the leads instead and concentrate on ranking my site? Well, that's a good question. I'm going to answer that give you a couple of my thoughts on that. Number one, if you've got a client that won't allow you in the site to do on page, which I think is always the tip of the spear, right? I always try to get in on and fix on-page issues first. Why is it that they don't want that? Do they have a webmaster that they use? And if so, then you can provide consultation to the webmaster. Just pull up a screencast video, take some notes, give them some instruction on what to do, and have the webmaster do it. If they don't want you tinkering or, poking around inside their site because they think you're going to break something, then give them the instructions on what to do. You still bill them for all that shit, but you have them do that instead is what I would recommend, number one. If that's not possible, then number two would be absolutely build your own damn assets. And then you could always iframe their page or their whatever into your asset so that you can they can literally get the leads still submitted to their website through your assets that way, instead of actually having your assets ranking and have them linking over to, that'll kill a ton of conversions. If people have to click from one page to another to submit their information to be an opt-in or a lead or request an estimate or whatever type of work you're doing, that's a conversion killer right there. So you'd be better off having their page with whatever conversion goal they have on the page embedded at the top of whatever assets that you rank. But just a quick example, the tree service client that I'm building out right now, not really a client, he's buying leads from me, but we made an agreement right off the bat to where I'm building out his branded stuff. I bought the domain, like it's all my assets. It's his brand, but it's all my assets. I own the whole fucking thing. And so he's buying the leads from me, even though I'm building his brand, they're my assets. And we set up a DBA specifically for that. So he has his actual company name, and then we have a similar name, but it's a DBA because he never did any SEO for his own brand. So there's no ambiguation there, entity ambiguation, but I'm actually building a really strong fucking brand right now for him through his DBA that I own the entire thing, all of it, all the assets, everything I own, and he's just buying the leads from me. And I love that model because now I remain in control. Like no matter what, I'm going to remain in control, but I'm getting paid instead of like, again, with traditional client relationship, it might take 2 months or 3 months to start getting results. And they got to pay you on a monthly retainer typically until you start getting them results. So with this model, I love it because he didn't start paying me until I started generating leads. But as soon as I started generating leads, then he started paying me, and I'm using that, reinvesting that money to continue to build the assets out so that more leads are generated. And it's his money that's paying me to build out the assets that I own. Does that make sense? And so he didn't actually pay for anything until he started getting leads that turn into revenue. So I think it's a great model, and I'm probably going to move forward with that for clients in the future as well. You want to comment on that, Marco?
Yeah, this is such a problem. If you can't trust me to go on your website and make the necessary changes, how can I then trust you to pay me the money that I have coming in whatever agreement it is that we have? We're not, if we don't have a trust relationship, right? Like how can we even move forward? Like even if you go through all that work, Fitz, and I'm not saying that's a problem with this client, but I'm very wary when these people tell me, well, no. And why? There's no reason why. Even if they have a webmaster, there should be no reason why you can't go in there and look, what are you trying to hide from me is my first thing. And if we're going to have these problems to start off, what other problems are coming down the line? Now, what you can do is do it so that you control everything. You rank it, it's your brand, and everything is yours, as Bradley is saying, and maybe you just direct the calls over to them after you run it through a call center to make sure that they're qualified calls and that it's something that you need to get paid for, and it's something that you can always rebrand for somebody else, or you can just push the calls to somebody else if what I think comes true.
Yep. The last question that we can answer is going to be this one. I wanted to point out, and then we got to go, guys. So sorry. Let me get back to the right one. Aaron says, I have a new client in pest control niche. We want to improve his local visibility. His previous vendor placed 2 JSON-LD schemas, one for local business and another following that as service business. I don't even think I'm familiar with what a service business schema is. I'm not sure I've seen that before. Anyways, should I remove the service business schema and continue with the local business? Yeah, because again, I'm not sure what service business schema is. I'm not heard that before, but it doesn't make sense to have two business type schemas on there. Now, again, you can have organization and local business schema, or corporation and local business schema. That it makes sense to do that sometimes, but it doesn't make sense to have two types of local business schemas on the same page. That doesn't make sense. So what I would do is and I'll post this link as soon as we get done with the webinar, guys. I'll post this. This is, as far as I know, this is the most up to date. I've always used this as a go-to for years now. But this is the schema list. I don't know who updates this, but Pest Control Service is a professional service, which is a subset of local business schema. In other words, if we come back over to the schema generator tool, if we come up here, go to local business, where was it? Right there. And we look at local business type, you come down here and go to, well, I don't know why it would, there we go. Professional service, which now it's actually local business schema, but the @ type is professional service. And again, Pest Control Service, the @ type is professional service. And that's the same for tree service contractors too. Or actually they might even be home and construction business. I think they are. Point is professional service is what you should be using, which is local business schema. Does that make sense? You want to comment on that, Marco? Do you know what service schema is? I've not heard that term before.
No.
Yeah, I haven't.
I mean, yeah, there is probably a service type for service-based businesses. It's always changing, so you always have to stay on and make sure that you're up to date on the most current schema.
Service schema.org type. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, professional service is what I would do if that's part of it. And it looks like
just scroll
right
down
there.
to the
Professional
example.
service, legal service. Yeah. Okay. So that might be what he's talking about. The service type schema could be legal service, professional service. So yeah, what it might be, and I'm just making an assumption here, is that he has generic local business schema, which that applies to businesses that don't have their own specific subset. Like, in other words, industry categories or business types that don't have their own specific subset within local business schema. Then local business schema is the catch-all that you apply to local businesses. Does that make sense? So if it's a service type, then it could be professional service, legal service, government service, financial service. That makes sense. In which case, like I said, yes, remove the generic local business schema and stick with the service-based schema, because that's more specific to Pest Control Service, right? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, you can scroll to the example, right? They always give you a JSON
here
LD example. Yeah.
Okay, right there.
And that's the one to use. You just clear that stuff out and add your own stuff.
Yep. Interesting. Let me see. @ type service. Yeah, there you go. That's interesting. I've not heard of just a generic service type though. That's the first time I've heard that. See how it says @ type local business, but then it says @ type up here service. So that's kind of like a hybrid between the two.
You can have multiple @ types, like you can have multiple @ IDs, because one is under provider, and there's even the service type, which defines it's defined in there as weekly, like weekly cleaning, I think it is. This is where you can get really intricate with schema.
Taxi service. Yeah.
And you're explaining everything, exactly everything, name of the driver.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. I'll have to dig into that a little bit more. But yeah, I would recommend just having, unless they're all in the same snippet, right? The same code snippet, I wouldn't have two separate versions of structured data. If you can combine them and it validates correctly, then yes, I would do that. Very cool. Anyways.
You can, this is, and I know we're running over, but you can get so intricate with this because you can have an organization, right? An organization that's a local business, that's a service, that has whatever employees, and then you go, they have an author that's also an employee, and the several different numbers, contact points. You can get really intricate with your structured data, which you should be, because you have to remember, you're talking to a machine that's trying to fill in variables. It's trying to pull all of this information that you're feeding it and looking for that ultimate entity to compare it against whatever is in the database, in the relational database, relating all of these different entities to that ultimate entity that's in that database and all of those other entities to one another. It's trying to define, it's the machine trying to define which one is best for the searcher at that particular time, which is why you often see, like you'll be standing, and I've tested this in New York City, by the way. You'll be standing on one side of a building. I've had someone stand on one side and do a search and get one set of results, go to the other side, to the middle of the block, right around the corner, middle of the block, and get different results. And
Awesome.
it's served right at that point, boom, boom, boom. And it's just all of these relationships that the artificial intelligence is trying to create at the local level for that person doing that search. It's really interesting how intricate you can go. And again, it's something that we'll be getting into in the Heavy Hitter Club as we go really deep into what technical SEO is, how to approach this, and especially how you manipulate entities for your convenience and for maximum gain.
That's some interesting stuff, man. So, all right, guys, we're way over. So we will see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.
See you, everyone.